So we're going to be making some 5-inch Senkos using the Do It. This is the actual Yamamoto Senko mold 5-inch. It's not the Essential Series, this is the actual Yamamoto mold. The Essential Series works just as good. It's a little bit cheaper. I just prefer this mold. We're going to need, this is a medium injector. I've already poured out 4 ounces of medium. This is the Do It Crystal Clear. I also use Bait Junkies plastic. You know, it's just all personal preference. You need our colorant, a little bit of glitter. I like to add a little bit of UV blast powder into my plastic, and it's a very minute amount of this stuff. Like basically like a BB size on the end of this toothpick will color this 4 ounces of plastic. Instead of using salt, we're going to be using glass bead media for the sinking additive. Got this stuff at Abrasive Armory. It's an outfit out of Washington. Looks like this stuff is mil 10, 100 by 170. That's the you know, the size of grit. It's pretty fine. This stuff will make your bait a lot more translucent than salt. Salt has a tendency to really cloud up your bait. Doesn't show your fleck and your flake as well. One thing with this glass bead media though, it will scratch the piston of your injector. You might be able to see that there, the scratches around there. It's really not, you know, I haven't noticed any difference in the performance of the injector, but I have one designated injector just for using the glass bead media. So the formula I'm going to be using today is 4 ounces of medium plastic, just a little bit of the UV blast powder, 1 tablespoon of softener, and the amount of glitter is just however much I put in there. And I'm going to be using 2 drops of black. This is Lurecraft colorant. I like theirs. Do It makes really good stuff. This is just what I had on hand. With adding the 2 drops to this, you're going to get a Senko when it's finished that's going to be very similar to the Yamamoto Natural Shad. So let's get started. First thing I'll do is clamp up this mold, which is pretty important. Make sure you got good clamps on here. I used to use regular snap clamps, but now I went to these kind because they just seem a little bit more stable and they don't want to back off. So I get one there, and I put one on the back side. And I always put them opposing directions, that way it kind of balances the mold out. Need to do have that one adjusted right. Make sure they're tight. That way they just kind of stay balanced right there. Typically you're always going to want to wear safety glasses, a respirator, and gloves. I will wear gloves, but for the sake of the video I'm not going to be wearing the respirator just so you can hear me talk. So first thing I'll do is take, now that that's all clamped up, I'll take this,
swing around you,
plastisol. I'll give it one more little stir. I dump this in here. This is just a Pyrex cup. This is the smaller one. I think this is the 8 ounce. I will put 2 tablespoons of this glass bead media. Now this is a half a tablespoon right here, so I'm going to do 4 of these. I just didn't have a tablespoon out here. And I do pretty heaping.
pretty big half tablespoons.
Yeah, you probably end up actually with about 2 1/4 tablespoons is really kind of ideal what you want. Using this glass bead media, I've never noticed any damage to any of my molds, and I'm pretty particular about that. That was one of my biggest concerns, but I haven't noticed anything. The glass bead media has a tendency to suspend pretty well too. You'll notice I'm putting the glass bead media in before I heat the plastic. If I was using salt, I would put the salt in after the plastic has pretty much been heated. So we got the glass bead media in there. I'm going to put just a whisker of this UV blast, and we'll show you at the end with the black light how little of this UV blast it takes. Literally that much. If you overdo the UV blast, anytime you take your bait out in the sun, it just blues it up and it just turns really blue. We're going to put 2 drops of black. in here. The other thing with glass bead media, it doesn't cloud it up, so it takes way less colorant. That looks pretty dark, but it'll lighten up after we start heating it. And we are going to add a tablespoon of softener. That's probably a little more since I got a little messy right there. Anyways, that's close enough. That was a little bit more. You saw I missed the tablespoon, but it won't matter. A little softer bait.
And what is the softener for?
Well, I mean, when you're adding salt or this glass bead media, it'll have a tendency to want to stiffen up your bait, and the softener just kind of, you know, loosens it up a little bit and just makes it softer. So you mix that good, and she's ready to go in the microwave. And I always start out about 50 seconds on my first go around, and then shorter durations after that. Obviously, the more plastic you have in there, the longer it's going to take for it to go through its initial set. Okay, so we've got the plastic heated. You need to make sure it gets up to 350 degrees. I use this, you know, this laser thermometer deal, and it gets me a pretty accurate reading. Right now it's cooled back down. It's about 325 right now. This is where I would add my flake. So I put a whisker of black in there. I just eyeball this. This is all, you know, personal preference, however much, you know, flake you want in there.
So you ended up heating it for 50 seconds, stirred it.
Yeah, and it all depends
45
on like,
stirred
yeah,
it.
and it all depends on what kind of microwave you have, the power of your microwave. I mean, different plastics heat a little bit different. I like to get it to 350, and I like it to cool off quite a bit before I shoot it, though. I like to shoot these stick baits at about 310. A lot of people think that's too cool, but I've actually shot them down to 300 or even a little bit below. If you shoot these stick baits at a real high temperature, they have a tendency to want to dent. You've seen those dents in those Senkos before.
Yep.
And that's what happens.
Yep.
So that right there is about 295, but I'm going to go ahead and give it one more blast in there, just now that I've mixed everything in. So you can see I've mixed the black, the gold, and the silver. There's a little bit of micro bubbling. It's been cold here in Oregon the last little bit, so I don't know, there could be some condensation in there, but I don't usually have that, you know, much of an issue with that. I've definitely noticed though, so I'll go about 25. I have noticed here in Oregon, it's not real humid all the time, but the best time for me to pour is like April on, when the spring temperatures have hit. It's, you know, upper, well, 60s and above. Wintertime here, when it's in the 30s and 40s, man, it's a pain. You get all sorts of bubbling issues. And when you're putting salt or the glass bead media in here, it's really important to keep stirring this stuff, to keep that additive suspended in there. So right now we're at about 335. I'm going to keep stirring it till it gets down, you know, somewhere 315, 310. And we'll put it in the injector. We'll shoot these baits. But I just keep stirring it. You can hear that glass bead media. Kind of sounds like it's grinding in there on the Pyrex. So right now I'm about 320. I'm going to go a little bit lower. So that's reading about 315 right there. I'm going to go with that because it's going to cool off when it gets in that injector. That injector's not been used today. I just actually shot it and it's only 52 degrees. So it's going to cool off. I like to dump mine right into the injector. pretty much 4 ounces of plastic just fills up this medium injector about perfect. I put the lid on it, make sure it's secure. And I kind of aim it up at about a 45-degree angle and just kind of push it up and make sure I get any air out of there. I put it in here and I just inject. I hold it there for about 10 more seconds. I pull it off. I just top it off. Big key to these molds here too, you want to keep them topped off. You'll see that the head of that plastic is going to suck down in the mold like it's starting to do right now. So you want to keep that head pressure on there. If that sprue and runner goes dry, it can suck air in there, and that's how you'll get a lot of big air bubbles in there. You see that's getting lower right there. And I'll kind of just take a little bit more and top it off. It's kind of starting to set up in the injector. Okay, so we've got the clamps on, the plastic's cooled down. It's been 3 or 4 minutes. Like I said, this mold was cold. It was like under 50 degrees, so it cools off pretty quick. The more shots you do through these, you know, the warmer your mold's gonna get, the longer it's gonna take for the plastic to cool down. But anyway, so this is done. I kind of pulled the sprue kind of loose, and I open it up, and there you go. You got 5 perfect Senkos. These have a little bit more glitter in them and whatnot than I would normally use, but these will be good, real good.
Hit it with the black light.
Yeah, we will in a minute. That's not the black light, but if you were going to use salt in this instead of glass bead media, your recipe would be the 4 ounces of plastic like we used. You would use 4 full tablespoons of salt, and you would use 2 tablespoons of the softener. And you would probably have to use 3 to 4 drops of the black, where we only had to use 2 because it takes more color using salt. But yeah, that's it. It's pretty simple. You know, it's a lot of fun, and we catch a lot of fish on this color. And these weigh about 10.7 grams. A Senko off the shelf is right about 10.7 to 11 grams. So these are just pretty darn identical to the real thing. I use salt too sometimes. It just, you know, depends what I want to do. But thought we'd make this video showing you using the glass bead media. So anyways, we'll get back with you after we grab that black light and show you how the UV looks. So we're going to turn the light off. I got this little black light. It'll really show that UV additive, and just keep in mind how little I used. Go ahead, Cody. So you can see those. Hit the light on. Light. So you can see that right there. A lot of people don't realize when something has UV in it, it's going to glow kind of a bluish color. A lot of people will see fluorescent colors, but that's just fluorescence. This is true UV. You can see how it's just kind of glowing that blue color. And that was with, I mean, you saw how much. That was just a little tiny, not even the size of a BB on the end of that toothpick. So anyhow, hope this was helpful. You know, we make all of our own soft plastics. We probably have 60 or 70 molds. We make all of our own craws. We got some real cool Rage Craw style molds. I do some hand pouring. We make frogs. We do it all. You know, if you guys want to see any more videos, you know, send Cody a message on his channel, Angler's Advantage TV, and hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.
There it is.